What's going on, YouTube? Hope we're all having a great day today. Today we're taking a look at a handful of weapon combos that I've been using this season, and most of these combos should do you pretty well in your games. There's also a few combos that I've added that may be a little less used, but these are going to be combos to just switch up the way you're playing to keep the game fresh and exciting, especially as we get in towards the end of Season 8, because the content can be a little dry when we are waiting for that next season. Let's jump right into it and start off with the weapon combo I'm probably using the most this season. This is the R301 paired up with a handful of weapons such as the R99, the Massive or the EVA 8, or the Volt. This combo pretty much gets me covered at all ranges, and honestly, the secondary weapon I use with the R301 will change as it really depends on what I find first and what weapon attachments I can find. However, if I do have my preferred choice, it's going to be the R301 with the R99 because the R99 still has crazy fast close range, one magging potential. Since the Massive nerf, the shotgun just doesn't feel as good to me, and honestly, I have been gravitating towards the EVA 8 a little bit more. If I'm running Gibraltar, then I will definitely try to get a shotgun over the other choices, but otherwise I am taking the R99 here, or maybe the Volt. The pairing with the R301 and the Volt is solid, but I do use this a little bit less because I do have a hard time finding energy ammo. I'll be more inclined to take the Volt if none of my teammates are using energy weapons. Moving on, we now have my Season 7 favorite weapon, and that is the Flatline with the Massive or the EVA 8, the Volt or the R99. This loadout for me is slightly more aggressive type of combo than our previous R301 combo, due to the fact that the Flatline does struggle a little bit more at range, and it does have more recoil. But because this weapon is harder hitting up close, I do pair this weapon with a shotgun sometimes so I can have an easy swap to weapon to finish off my opponents. The Flatline, in my opinion, is one of the hardest hitting close range hipfire weapons that is insanely good if you do hit a couple headshots. Again, pretty much all the secondary options come down to what my teammates are using and what weapon attachments I find first. I do think the Flatline is a little forgotten at the moment because of how easy the Spitfire is to use, but when the Spitfire does get a nerf or if the Flatline gets a buff, I do see the Flatline coming back into the meta and being used a little bit more. I do still dig this combo, and it usually does me pretty well. Moving on now, we have the previously mentioned Spitfire with the EVA 8 or the Massive or the R99, or even two Spitfires. I'm not really sure what to say about this weapon, as this Spitfire is just absurdly good right now. It is so easy to use, control, has great range, has good hip firing capabilities at close ranges. The huge magazine size means you can wipe out entire teams with a single magazine, and if you pair this Spitfire up with two of them, I find that it's just pretty much endless amount of bullets, especially if you do have gold magazines. Honestly, I stopped using the Spitfire a couple weeks ago as I do feel pretty cheap when using it at the moment, but there are a few times where I have had double gold Spitfires, and it just makes shooting super simple and easy. I would definitely give the Spitfire a try if you aren't the best shot, as the magazine size is very generous and as is the recoil. I do love using this combo, and it's a lot of fun to be raining fire down enemies. I would definitely use it right now because it is probably going to get some sort of nerf in the future. Next up, for my final sweat loadout, or my preferred aggressive loadouts, we have the Volt with the Massive or the R99, and more so the Volt with the R99. The Volt for me can be extended to a slightly shorter medium range, and I do prefer to run it with a 2x optic when I do run the Volt and R99 combo. Like I previously stated, I am using shotguns less these days, but the Massive is still a great pair up with the Volt. This combo of R99 and Volt does require a fair amount of ammo, which is its downfall, but it is crazy good at being very aggressive, and for the most part, players with a solid shot will do very well with this loadout. This combo for me is a really solid loadout that I pretty much will win every one-on-one fight I have because I do have two of the fastest spraying weapons in the game. So I would definitely give this loadout a try if you do want to have the very aggressive type of play and you don't want to use a shotgun. Let us now move on to some of the loadouts that I'm using for an alternate type of play style, such as being a little bit more passive, switching up the way I play, and some good sleeper loadouts that you might not be aware of. These loadouts are also just good to have some good laughs and have a good time. I just want to take a moment and say if you are enjoying this video and you want to support me, be sure to hit that like button, and I appreciate your support. The first alternate loadout to talk about is going to be the sniper rifle combo, and this is the charge rifle or the triple take, and then the R99 or the Volt. The charge rifle is my go-to sniper for being quite annoying to enemy teams, farming shields and playing more defensively. On the other hand, the triple take for me is a really solid all-around weapon that can be very good at the longest of long ranges and solid even in the close range. The triple take will be the sniper I use if I want to still be a little bit more mobile and be aggressive, because I can't really do this with the charge rifle. I am then pairing it with another SMG such as the Volt and the R99, I think my preferred is going to be the R99 though, as light ammo is easier to find, and the fire rate of that R99 is a little bit better than the Volt. I do enjoy using snipers in Apex Legends. I just find that most of my lobbies I am really in don't allow for many opportunities to be sniping, as usually Apex is a pretty mobile, very aggressive game, and having a long-range weapon in a close-range fight can be pretty tough. So this does move me on to my slightly more fun and troll type of loadout, and this is the R301 or the Volt, and then pairing it up with a P2020 with hammer points. The Volt or the R301 are my medium to close range weapons that I use to crack the enemy shields, and then I swap to the P2020 with hammer points and pretty much laser them down in a couple of shots by tap firing with the hip fire or aiming down sights if they are slightly further. I do use the 2x optic on the pistol because I do find it gives me a little bit more accuracy and range that most people aren't expecting to get picked by this pistol. This loadout may not be the best of the best, but this little pea shooter of a P2020 is a solid weapon when you do put hammer points on it, and it really does allow you to play the game in a little bit different type of play style. I would definitely give it a try. If you do have the P2020 with hammer points, you can do anywhere from like 76 to 84 damage to a headshot, depending on the helmet and the type of legend, so it's definitely no joke. Of course, you can swap the P2020 for a Mozambique too, but I find it not to be quite as good, even if the Mozambique is still hilarious to use. Now up for my sleeper pick of a combo, we have the Havoc Assault Rifle with a shotgun, so either the Massive or the EVA 8. This loadout is a solid loadout that is pretty underrated in my opinion. The Havoc is actually a great weapon if you think of it as an SMG rather than an assault rifle. The hip-firing capabilities with a Havoc at extremely close ranges can be extremely deadly, even more so if you do get the turbocharger. If you don't have the turbocharger, I will say this gun is kind of mediocre in my opinion, which does bring it down a little bit because I generally have a hard time finding that turbo. I do find the Havoc is just relatively easy to use if you are just hip firing it. I don't really like it if I am aiming down sights because it does have a crazy amount of recoil. I don't use this combo too often, but every now and then I will find that Havoc and turbocharger early on in a game, and if I do, I will definitely give this combo a try. I wouldn't expect to use the Havoc at range because again, it is a lackluster gun at range and it will be a pain point for you. Overall, it is a solid weapon that can give you some freshness in the game when you do use it, so I would definitely give it a try if you haven't tried it in a while. And finally, we have my old school loadout, and this is the Wingman or the Alternator with the R99 or the Mastiff. Primarily though, I am talking about the Wingman and the R99 combo. The Wingman acts as my mid-range to close-range weapon, and the R99 is my close-range spray-down gun. Sometimes I will swap the Wingman for the Alternator as my range gun with the 2x optic and keep that R99 for close range as well. The Alternator is a great hipfire at close range and it's easy to control, and I find it's probably a better beginner gun than most of the other SMGs because it is so easy to control. The Wingman is definitely a bit harder to use for me, and I don't pick it up as often as I used to, but it is very satisfying. I do find that if you are an accurate Wingman shooter, there may be no other combo in the game that can be as deadly as a few Wingman headshots and the fast time to kill of an R99. It isn't quite as meta as it used to be, but from time to time I will run this loadout to remind me of the early days of Apex Legends. So I would say those are my 8 combos that I am using the most in Apex Legends. There's of course a ton of different weapon combos you can use, so definitely think outside the box and try different combos. I want to touch on one more thing, and that is the care package weapons. I will pretty much always take a care package weapon, except I will not take the Prowler if I find the Prowler early on in games, because it just doesn't have enough ammo to get through a game for me. If I do find something like a Peacekeeper, it will replace sometimes my close range gun, so I'll have like the R301 with the Peacekeeper, or sometimes it will replace my long range gun, and I'll have like the R99 with a Peacekeeper. And then there's the Kraber. The Kraber will pretty much always replace my medium range gun, and then I will keep my close range weapon. So again, I will have like an R99 with a Kraber, and that's pretty much it for the care package weapons. So there we have it, a few of my favorite weapon combos in Apex Legends. If you have any more questions regarding any weapons in Apex Legends, be sure to drop a comment down below or hop over to my Twitch stream and we can chat about Apex Legends live on stream. There's a lot of guns in Apex Legends, and for the most part, they are all pretty viable in their own unique ways. So be sure to be using the weapons you want to use, and I hope you have a great day. Until next time, peace out.